sometimes the secret DNA of an entire poem is hiding right there in plain sight, in the glossary. Today, we're going to look at a foundational educational document and decode exactly how it prepares a reader to step into the world of Joseph Campbell's poem, The Old Woman. We are going to treat these definitions not just as words you'd memorize for a test, but as absolute essential clues to a much larger artistic puzzle. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to unpack the glossary, contrast the vocabulary, look at the teacher's blueprint, dive into imagery and similes, and then wrap it all up with a final analysis. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Unpacking the glossary. Imagine you're holding a lesson plan right in your hands. At the top, you've got this glossary, and down at the bottom, a teacher's guideline. We're going to break down this single page because honestly, it gives us an amazing behind-the-scenes look at how poetry is taught. We're going to look really closely at 4 specific words from this glossary because they basically set the stage for everything that follows. Okay, word number 1, radiance. The text defines this as a special bright quality that shows in somebody's face, for example, because they are very happy or healthy. Just think about that for a second. We're not talking about a light bulb here. It's an inner light, right? One that physically shows on the outside because of joy or glowing health. When a poet drops a word like radiance, they're injecting the scene with this absolute overflow of life and positivity. But here is the really interesting part, so keep this in the back of your mind. The poem we are preparing for is about an elderly figure. Associating this glowing, energetic word with old age, that juxtaposition is exactly where the magic starts. And then bam, we hit the second word, travail. The definition here is an unpleasant experience or situation that involves a lot of hard work, difficulties, and suffering. Wow. Right? That is a remarkably heavy term. It is totally burdened with difficulty and physical or emotional labor. It just shatters that beautiful lightness we had a second ago. Suddenly, we're grounded in the harsh, exhausting, and often painful realities of life. It's literally like dropping a massive boulder into a perfectly calm pond. Next up on the list is brood. Now, the definition provided is super simple: a person's child or children. It's a straightforward word, sure, but deeply intimate. I mean, we might joke about a brood of moody teenagers raiding the fridge, but in a literary context, this word emphasizes a really primal, protective connection between a parent and their kids. It whispers about bigger themes like family, generations, and maybe even the heavy, lifelong weight of caring for other people. Finally, we get to ruined. Our source defines this as destroyed or severely damaged so that only parts remain. Just sit with the absolute devastation of that word for a moment. Ruined. It doesn't just mean broken. It implies that something used to be whole, and now that wholeness is irrevocably lost. All that's left are these jagged fragments of what once was. It's a tragic, incredibly final sort of word, completely stripped of any hope for repair. Moving on to section 2. Contrasting the vocabulary, because looking at these words one by one doesn't really give us the full picture. What is absolutely fascinating about this specific list is the intense, almost jarring tension between the words. I mean, look at the extreme emotional whiplash here. We go from the glowing health of radiance straight into the painful difficulty of travail and the finality of ruined. And right in the middle, we have brood, representing life and family, sandwiched between brilliant light and utter destruction. Even before reading a single line of Joseph Campbell's poem, this glossary is screaming at us that The Old Woman is going to explore some massive emotional extremes. It's going to touch on the beautiful aspects of humanity right alongside the devastating realities of time and hardship. This is literally how you map out a poem before you even read it. All right, section 3, the teacher's blueprint. Let's see how this vocabulary actually turns into a lesson. At the bottom of our source document, we shift gears from the glossary into the teacher's guideline. And the very first instruction is this exact quote: "Read the poem aloud yourself and ask a few students to read it." Now, we all remember that terrifying mix of dread and excitement when a teacher asked for a volunteer to read, right? But the creators of this lesson plan are making a super deliberate, profound choice here. They are saying that poetry absolutely has to be a shared auditory experience first. You can't just stare at the words on a page in silence. You have to feel the rhythm, you got to hear the pauses, and actually speak them into the room to give them life. So the big takeaway here is this brilliant 2-step process. Step 1, we experience the rhythm and the raw emotion by reading out loud. Step 2, only then do we break down the mechanics. The guide explicitly says to explain figurative language and literary technique. It's a total aha moment when you realize why great teachers structure lessons this way. If you jump straight into the technical stuff, the poem just becomes a dry math problem. But if you read it aloud first, you capture the student's imagination. You let everyone intuitively feel the tension between words like radiance and ruined before they ever have to logically explain it.
Which brings us to Section 4, Imagery and Simile.
The second part of the teacher's guideline tells the instructor to, quote, explain to the students how the poet has used figurative language and literary techniques such as imagery and simile in the poem. So let's pretend we're in that classroom right now. Our job as students of Joseph Campbell's The Old Woman is to figure out exactly how he wields these tools. How does he use imagery to paint vivid mental pictures with words like radiance or travail? And crucially, how does he use similes, making comparisons using like or as, to connect totally unexpected things? The guideline is basically turning us into literary detectives, telling us